eyes first saw the lump on the shore, I thought it was a tree stump. That side of the beach is too violent, and the ocean seldom deposits anything that it doesn't take back. But I was more interested in the skyline. The light was keeping pace with me, and the closer I got, the more it captivated me. Then I panicked when I thought it might be a body. It looked lifelike, but it didn't move. What time do you think it was? 6-ish. Guessing by the rising sun, I'd say 6. When I reached the sand, I started to walk faster. At least 200 yards separated me and that anomaly on the beach. I started to take pictures and noticed there were no other footprints on the sand. If it were a body, it wouldn't have walked there. The more obvious it became that it was a body, the faster my feet moved. Before I knew it, I recognized Irene. You didn't see anyone else on the beach or a boat in the water? Nothing. I had a feeling I was being watched, but if there were eyes on me, I couldn't make them out. Irene was almost beautiful. There might have been a message in her position that I couldn't read. Her eyes were open and staring. She saw exactly who killed her. I can't think of anyone who might have done this. You? I shook my head. Ian didn't need to hear about my fabricated suspects. I'm sure he had his list in the works. I closed my eyes and inhaled. Let's get you to bed. You look worn out. Like it just hit you. You're right. I am. But what about Lyndon? I'll wake you. I need to feed Max. I can take care of the dishes. Ian led me upstairs and tucked the comforter up to my chin. Sleep. Although I fought drifting away from the unanswered questions, my eyes betrayed me and closed. When I woke, it was to Ian's kiss gently lifting from my brow. He was holding the hand that had escaped from under the cover. Lyndon is here. Take your time. I brushed my teeth, ran the brush through my hair, and twisted the thick coil into a clip. I thought about changing my clothes, but Ian might think I did so for Lyndon. In the kitchen, Lyndon and Ian were speaking quietly. I heard another voice I didn't recognize. The kettle whistled. Ian was being hospitable and making tea. Rosalind, this is Special Crimes Officer Howard, Lyndon said, using my full name. A hand reached out to shake mine, and I complied. Officer Howard. I repeated the name, a trick I learned long ago. Mrs. McIntyre. Sorry to meet under these circumstances. I could tell that Howard was older by a few decades and seasoned. Although he appeared amicable, he was already forming conclusions. Since I wasn't sure what was involved in making a statement, I remained standing. We prefer taking statements at the office, but as it happens, we have a bit of a problem. An infestation of lice. My hand lifted, and I scratched my scalp. Ian pulled the chair out for me and whispered, "Sit, dear." My eyes fell to the tape recorder that Lyndon must have set on the table while I looked at Howard. My replies would be recorded, then analyzed. I was nervous, and although my hands didn't shake, they trembled beneath the skin. "Mr. McIntyre, may we ask you to step outside?" Howard smiled at Ian, albeit it wasn't a smile at all. Scarsdale Strand didn't have its own investigative team. It relied on the department from the next village to supply experienced officers. Although this was Lyndon's third death, he had never been entrusted with investigating them. His superiors always brought in a team. Undoubtedly, members were already sifting through the forensic evidence. Irene's death wouldn't slip away quietly as the murderer had. In your own words, please write down what you saw, what time, and all pertinent information you can think of. Take your time. Lyndon slid a yellow pad and pen toward me. I heard the door close behind Ian and Max. I saw their shadows as they made their way toward the front garden. Ian wasn't the sort of man who was ever idle. When his sheep didn't harvest his attention, it was the garden. One could never accuse Ian of being lazy. With their eyes trained on me, I wrote for 10 minutes without losing my train of thought. I didn't dress anything up, left off the spectacular shade of mauve, and focused on the facts. I underscored the initials of Irene's tattoo. Lyndon read what I wrote down, and it complied with what I told him earlier. Howard took longer, but he seemed satisfied. "You are doing okay?" Lyndon asked. "I am. Just tired. I guess it hit me this afternoon. Shock takes time in some people. It's normal. Most men couldn't handle what you witnessed today. So, take it easy. By all means." Howard was authoritative. After they left, I joined Ian in the garden. He was on his knees, thinning his row of thriving carrots. Max found a sun trap in the corner and slept the sleep of dogs, chasing imaginary rabbits, flicking his tail, jerking his legs. My hands dug into the dirt and pulled. For weeks after, speculations and rumors mingled with every meal served in the village. We'd all become spectators in Irene's life. Although we didn't deserve a seat in the front row. Lyndon sent a courier with the camera chip, and the photos of Irene were deleted. Someone from 30 miles away called in about my boat. Lyndon returned it after it was thoroughly assessed and swabbed for evidence. It wasn't the vessel that deposited Irene on the beach. Ian had a great lambing season, and I joined him often in the hut, escaping the rumor mill that had everyone in the village feeling on edge. Although Irene's life ended, Ian's life and mine carried on. Nellie and Ron reconciled after he made amends. Lizzie took over for Irene, and Julie fell in love with a woman she met on the internet while searching for clues to Irene's past life. In the village, they were a camp divided. Everyone had an opinion and separated fact from fiction, though they didn't have an accurate account of either. Speculation and opinion were regarded as truth. Many discussions led to bitter arguments. Eggshells were broken. Within a few months, Lyndon proved them wrong. Irene was a victim of circumstance. She caught the eye of a man who had a textbook taste for ending the lives of women that reminded him of his mother. There was only one thing Irene could have done differently. That was to be at a different place at the time. The man is now in jail. What we learned as a village and community was that truth has a way of drifting. Eventually, like the tide, the truth will return the evidence that was out there in plain sight. Ian and I are expecting. It's not too late. We love each other, and even now, we still argue, sometimes over silly things, like what to name our child. I still think of Irene often, and that she left without saying goodbye.